Neil Isaacs here, coming to you about customer concentration. And why would I be talking about customer concentration? Well, I'm a business intermediary. I have seen customer concentration kill deals. So, walk with me as I talk to you about some of the things that I've learned in this fancy presentation. So, here's what I want to get into. What is it? What are some examples? Why it matters? What to do about it? Alternative perspective. And I'll give you something to walk away with here. Quick story. Here's the example. A man walks into my office. I'm a business intermediary. I sell other people's businesses. And he says, I've got a multi-million dollar business. It makes a ton of money. I want to sell it. And I'm like, well, great. Do you have employees? Yeah, a ton of employees. How long you been in business? Oh, years and years. I'm really excited. This sounds like the type of business owner that we can best serve. And then he's like, by the way, I don't know if this matters or not, but I only have one customer. I'm like, yeah, it kind of matters. So he was a janitorial contractor, and his customer was like a big hospital or something. And he did make millions of dollars. He did have tons and tons of subcontractors that did the work. But he already knew that hospital was being sold and that the other hospital that bought his hospital already had their own cleaning service. So I think he knew before he walked into my door that it was a customer concentration nightmare, but he still thought, hey, maybe some sucker will buy this, I think. He was actually pretty content. He kind of knew the answer. He just wanted to hear it from a business intermediary. But as just that quick story, I think you can start to understand what customer concentration is and why it matters. But let's look at another story ripped from the headlines. This is actually the story that got me thinking about customer concentration. I'm recording this in the last quarter of 2024. I live in North Carolina. We just had a significant hurricane about a month ago, Hurricane Helene. It ripped through western North Carolina. It's really devastated it. And it just so happened that one of the main suppliers of IV fluid for the entire nation was located in this small town in North Carolina, North Cove, which I'd never heard of, Baxter International. They got wiped out and they've supplied 60% of the IV fluid that hospitals across the country use. So there were stories about hospitals saying, we'll just, use less IV fluid than we normally do and or we just don't have any, or maybe go to another hospital. Like it was a pretty significant event. And this is in the public sector, right? Hospitals, we all use hospitals. But if that doesn't underscore the emergency, the issue of customer concentration, I don't know what does. I think that if you could design a hospital system and decide where you're going to get your IV fluid from, you'd say, let's set up a pretty diverse network so that one hurricane couldn't displace 60% of our supply. I like that example. I hope you do too. Again, customer concentration. And then here's one that we did it anyway, right? This business that we sold recently much like the first client, they did have one customer. And we did sell it. It did take longer than our average deal. I think it took about a year. We typically sell these in we could have sold it 10 times over if there was customer concentration, if there was not customer concentration issues. The interesting thing is this client could have diversified and had diversified in the past, but he had gotten it to where it was manageable and it was absentee for him. He liked having one customer. And I'm going to return to that in a little bit, but it made it a lot harder. A lot of business buyers passed on this opportunity, but we did get it sold. And I'll share a little bit about how we did that a little bit later in this presentation. So it can be done, but we've seen it ourselves. And I can tell you, representing business owners, we had the majority of people said, I'm not comfortable taking that risk based on knowing there's only one customer. Now that we've gotten this far, I'm going to dig a little bit farther. What is it and why does it matter? Right. So most business buyers will tell you, like, if the top two or three, or in the case I saw before, one customer comprises maybe 15, 20% of annual revenues, that equals a lot of risk. That's risk that I am not going to want to take on, they're going to say, what if that client goes away? What do I have left? They may take your valuation, just chop off that top 15, 20% or more. And you don't want that. Selling your business, you don't want to be prone to have that type of concentration. Another similar type of concentration people don't think about all the time is if the owner is responsible for all of the clients. We see that a lot. We've sold hair salons in the past and call it hair behind the chair. Some of these salons do big money, but it's all because the owner has his or her own personal client list. And that ain't going to transfer when the new owner comes in. So savvy buyers will discount that type of owner driven revenue, just like customer concentration. We see this in specialty practices for doctors and lawyers and things of that nature as well. Essentially, it's anytime you are putting all of your eggs in one basket. One other story I'll share in a deal we're doing right now is this one client it's another logistics business, but this client has a service provider that on his customer list looks like one giant, like 25, 30%. But within that, there are actually 7 or 8 different clients that are all individual clients, but run through the same company. So if that company went away, he could still service those clients. So it comes down to how the data is presented, but that was kind of a false scare with customer concentration. It's something that the business buyer actually noticed because they said, how come each of these clients have the exact same amount of revenue? And we said, well, let me explain that. They are different amounts of revenue, but we divided the number of clients by that one provider. Kind of an interesting thing that the buyer was looking for that, and he found it. So we had some explaining to do, but it all made sense. When we explained it, he said, yeah, I get that totally. What do you do about customer concentration? And the answer is obvious. It's easier said than done, but you got to add more clients. Some people don't want to do this. The ones we've worked with, I mentioned that one logistics group, he said, no thanks. I'm not interested in that. Usually if people are down to 1 or 2 clients, they've done it for a reason. And it's because it's often easier. Otherwise, you could try and reduce risk by making your contracts more contractual. This is going to limit the risk. It does come down to risk. So anything you can do to balance it out on the other side is going to help as well. But most importantly, you need to think about deal structure, right? So what do I mean by this? Deals that we've gotten done like this, they were stock sales. So there was less that the client could do to get out of their contracts if they when they found out there's new ownership. We've paired buyers with owners for some amount of time. So you're just adding a partner instead of selling the business. That's more comfortable for the client. And then there's other less seller friendly options such as earnouts and basically contingency type payments. So Mr. Buyer, I know you're worried about this client leaving. In the event that they do in some amount of time, then you don't have to pay me the entire amount that we agreed upon. No seller wants to do that. But when you're dealing with customer concentration, that's a weakness. And if you're going to have to balance it in somehow. And so alternative deal structure, deal payments can be a way to do that. And then I want to point this out. I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I did hear this from an agency owner one time, an advantage of customer concentration. And the real reason why a lot of business owners tend to concentrate their customers is because it's easier, right? They know their customer or their customers. They do less billing. It's just streamlined. It is a monoculture, if you will. You know exactly how much fertilizer it needs. You can mow the grass and they're all cut to the same height. So there's certainly a convenience here. And you may be able to, actually the business that we've dealt with that were like this, they were low overhead, low effort. You have, less customer issues because you have less customers. This is why some business owners trade the risk for the convenience of customer concentration. Doesn't change the fact that it limits your options for exit, but I like to kind of be fair and balanced here. There is that advantage of customer concentration. This can be a silent deal killer, and it can be avoided if you just take the time and pay attention. If you haven't run a customer report list, revenue by client, that's the first way to see. That's what a business buyer is going to do. So figure out if you have a customer concentration issue, if you diversify, if you can, if If you feel that your client is controlling you, look for new clients and think about it early because you're not going to want to. This could take months or years to add new clients. Business buyers will look back 3 to 5 years. So if you're not looking to sell your business today, start now to diversify your customer base. This is going to accelerate the value of your business in the exit planning world. Value acceleration, customer concentration is one of the main factors. So I want to thank you for listening to me give this presentation. I am Neil Isaacs. I'm a business intermediary. I am the Raleigh business broker. I love to share content like this on web. Let me know what type of things that you see in your business dealings. If you're looking to buy, sell, if you advise clients, that's who I like to connect with. Appreciate you watching. Talk to you next time. Malhava.